Please remain standing as Virginia Union University Sports Athletics Chaplain, Pastor Joe Ellison Jr. offers this evening's invocation.
Let us pray. Eternal Father, we thank you tonight for this sport that we love so much, NASCAR. Lord, tonight we remember the families of Parkland and Virginia Tech. Tonight, Lord, we thank you that we're grateful to be in America. Lord, we thank you for our military, the men and women who protect us across the world. We thank you tonight for this competition. We thank you, Lord, that you protect our drivers. We thank you for a healthy competition. And we give you all the praise, we give you all the glory. And Lord, protect our fans who will be traveling around the country to be here. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Here to honor America, please welcome the Henrico Fire Choir to perform our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
There is just something special about racing at night. It just feels different. 250 laps here at Richmond coming up right after this. Welcome everyone to FS1's coverage of the ToyotaCare 250 Xfinity Series racing from Richmond Raceway. It's a perfect night, mid-60s, gorgeous out there. Time now to meet tonight's guest driver analyst. So, Kevin Harvick is a great race car driver and a champion, but his most important job is husband and father. Along with wife Delana, they are proud parents of Keelan and almost 4-month-old daughter Piper Grace, who was born in the off-season. When he's on the track, Kevin has 2 Xfinity and 1 Cup championship and a combined 10 wins here at Richmond. Kevin joins Michael Waltrip and Adam Alexander, but we have a special message for you, Kevin, before you guys get started.
Good luck tonight, Pops. I'm around if you need any pointers.
There it is. If you need any pointers, all you have to do is pick up the phone. We thank you, Delana, for sending that to us. It was awesome.
You said that Keelan's helping you with your golf game. I guess he helps you when it comes to broadcasting as well. What kind of race are we going to see here tonight? First race under the lights in 2018.
Well, I think you're going to see a really interesting race just for the fact that I feel like this is one of those places that you have the most trouble figuring out exactly what you need in your race car. And I think tonight, with so many young drivers in the field, so many guys who have been here not at all, and some not very much, I think you're going to see some cars coming and some cars going. So I think the most important guy tonight is the crew chief, because he's the guy that's going to make the rational decisions.
And I'm going to lean on that crew chief because I need to know how fast to go early on my tires. The grip gives up so quickly. If I wear my tires out, I won't be good on the long run. So it's a delicate balance that these drivers are faced with. How hard to charge when they throw the green and how much to save when the tires get 40 or 50 laps on them.
How about the balance of patience and aggression? Just a quick reminder, we had 12 cautions last week at Bristol, 7 in this race 1 year ago. Things could get physical on a Friday night in the Commonwealth. Let's go trackside for the command.
Race fans, it's time for the most famous words in motorsports. Please welcome 2012 Toyota Tundra TRD owner and VIP customer of Mechanicsville Toyota, Leslie Grabbit, to give the command.
Drivers, start your engines!
It's the 8th race of 2018 for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Richmond Raceway playing host. Let's get geared up.
Starting on the pole, our Code 3 Mustang's pretty good, so hoping we keep it out front and see what we can do.
Super excited for tonight's race. I made my first ever Xfinity start here at Richmond, so this place is really special to me. And it's a true short track, so you're going to see a lot of bumping and banging tonight.
Got a long race coming up, so got to stay out of trouble, be there at the end. It's cold and windy. Don't really know what to expect, so have fun watching.
Really excited to get out there for my first Xfinity race. Gonna be my debut. Ready to go have some fun, learn a lot. Hopefully we can end up in victory lane.
Fans and drivers alike refer to Richmond as racing perfection.
Time to go short track racing in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
This whole bunch is beating and banging.
Young Hawks can go their way.
Another chance for one driver to secure a spot in NASCAR's postseason.
I don't care what others say.
They say Virginia is for lovers.
Oh man, I love this. It's going to be the best race of the year.
Gorgeous Friday evening in Richmond, Virginia. It's time for the ToyotaCare 250. Spencer Gallagher starting 17th tonight. He is 28 years old from Las Vegas, Nevada. Been racing for a number of years. He loves a little fitness in the mountains, including when there is a snowboard involved. Let's go from the driver's seat with driver 23.
And 4, second gear, all green.
Hey Spencer, this is Kevin Harvick up in the FS1 booth. Well, we've got a racetrack that changes a lot here, and you guys have made great strides this year with getting your cars more competitive. You're running good. You're in the dash for cash tonight. So are you rolling with what you had in practice, or did you make some changes to your car for the race?
What's happening, Heavy? We're actually pretty close to how we unloaded in practice here. We were pretty happy with our Legion Travel Chevy. Felt we had pretty good speed and a good balance to race with. Could have used a little pace in qualifying, but that's why they made this racetrack 3 grooves wide. So about to have a fun one tonight out here at Richmond.
Well, I've never seen you not have fun, so have a good time, and we'll be watching.
Thanks much. I'll put it on a show for y'all. Talk to you later.
We said Gallagher starting 17th. He, Elliott Sadler, Justin Allgaier, Daniel Hamrick eligible for the $100,000 bonus in the dash for cash. About to go green. Let's go pit side and hear from Matt Yoakum. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Adam. No driver tonight has more motivation than Elliott Sadler. This is his home racetrack. He sat in these very stands as a kid, but he's never won here at Richmond. Rolls off in the 8th position with a great long-run car. And really, in the year of the older guy, Regan Smith explains in Regan's Rap why tonight that experience may pay off.
That experience may pay off tonight if he can protect his tires. Why do I say protect the tires? Because every time you get sideways at Richmond International Raceway, it chews your tires up. Every time you get on the gas, it chews your tires up, much like this block of cheese and this cheese grater. Eventually, you run out of tire, and then you have a big problem to deal with. These guys have got to protect those tires tonight.
I would say that is an accurate assessment of what you could see here, huh? This place can be rough on the good years.
And it's just from the first turn on, Adam. You can feel a difference in the grip level every lap you make, and it's really important to try to keep that back end up under you. You don't need to be sliding those tires off the corners.
One lap before we go green, pacing the field, our 2018 Toyota Camry XSE.
It's a hot-looking ride, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nice, sharp. Lights are off. That means we are about ready to get down to business. Let's take a look at our race analysis.
And this is racing perfection. A couple of stages here of 75 laps, final stage 100 laps. Fuel wind of 110 to 120. You'll want tires at about lap 20 though, right, Kevin?
Well, you know, I think as you look at this race, I think one reason that Elliott Sadler and the older guys are so good here is they know you have to take care of those tires. I've been watching practice, and these guys are on the gas sideways.
Ross Chastain coming off a top 10. He goes 16th at the start tonight.
Ooh, that sun is bad off of 2. It's right dead center of the windshield. It's too low for any tape. He could have had a dark visor, but that's it.
Yeah, you can see right there, Adam, the glare on his visor. So that's going to be tough early in the going.
Front row, Cole Custer, Christopher Bell. We are green at Richmond. Saw a little 3 wide early there.
I tell you what else we saw is we saw a lot of dirt. You know, they've done a lot of construction around here, and we've been running on a racetrack all day. But you can see how much dirt was coming out from underneath those cars. That's not something that is normal here, but with all the upgrades that they've done with the infield, those cars are still sucking the dirt out of the racetrack.
You can see Justin Allgaier there in the 7 getting below Christopher Bell in the 20 as they race toward turn 1. That means maybe Allgaier's got a little bit better short run car. He's already on the gas and trying to take that spot away.
Yeah, and this is a very unique part of the race because of the fact that you have, you know, all the laps on your tires from qualifying. So you're starting on scuffed tires, and the rest of the night you're most likely going to start on sticker tires. So You're going to see a lot of people coming forward right now. You're going to see a lot of people going backwards, and this is really just a good time to get a good feel for your car, get down in line, and try to get in a rhythm, because this is a big-time rhythm racetrack.
You mentioned Allgaier. He and the other Dash for Cash drivers highlighted in red on our scoring pylon. Whoever finishes best tonight gets the $100,000 paycheck.
And I think, Kevin, I would like to hear your opinion. If you've got a little bit better car right now, this is when patience becomes the key. If you know you're already better than others, then just chill out, ride in that spot, and watch them wear their stuff down.
Well, and it's interesting because I looked at all the lap trackers, and you look at the lap tracker on that 20 car, and his car lasts. It goes fast. Christopher Bell, it goes fast, and it lasts a really long time. So there may be a little bit of urgencies, because I guarantee that Allgaier has looked at that as well. But those junior motorsports cars have been really good here the past several years.
What a season it's been for Christopher Bell. Up and down. He either finishes in the top 5 or crashes, it seems, and had a huge crash at Bristol.
And I like that. You know why I like that? Because it's fun to watch. He's aggressive, and I think that's a lot of what you see out of the sprint car, dirt car mentality. Is they're used to running short races, and they're used to going really hard. But as they figured out, you saw the same thing with Kyle Larson on the Cup side. Christopher Bell is going to figure it out. He's already figured a lot of it out. He can go fast, but it's just keeping yourself out of those situations where you get your car tore up.
And what I love about him, doesn't matter if he has a problem or not, he comes right back swinging. The bad stuff doesn't really bother him.
And that's something that is probably the hardest thing to learn, is how do you let a bad week go, and how do you not dwell on a good week and think that that's going to carry over to the next week. If you can, my rule is when I get off the airplane on Sunday night, you better have forgotten everything that's happened that day.
Well, remember last week, running up front, cuts a tire, hits the wall, back in 31st. And less than 50 laps later, he's leading. So he understands how to balance adversity. Bell running third behind Custer, our leader. Nemechek is second. Rest of the top 5, Allgaier and Hamrick.
The one thing I like about Allgaier's car right now is that left front is right on that yellow line, Mike. The 20 car is a half a lane up the racetrack, and I believe if you're going to win this race and you're going to be the guy to beat, you got to have that left front on that yellow line.
And we saw that during qualifying even, Kevin. The speed was when they could really clip the apron when they're coming off the turns, and I know that's going to be the goal here during the race, because that'll just help keep the tires on your car longer as well.
We'll see that groove move up a little bit, and these painted lines around the racetrack, the hash marks in the corners, that first one will have a lot of grip, and you'll see the guys those lines will really start to rubber up, and it'll almost be like little grip strips, and the guys will start to run their right sides or their left sides on those tires through the corners. But I still believe that you're going to have to be right on the bottom, just like that 7 car is, in order to be the guy that wins this race.
As a racer, that makes you happy when you see what that 7 will do, doesn't it? Being able just to duck down lower than Bell, and he's going to take advantage of that.
When you look at him, since going to junior motorsports, he's been one of the best drivers in the series last couple of years on the short track. So successful here a season ago. Didn't get the win, but led the most laps and serving notice once again. He came to play tonight inside of Bell. This is the battle for third. Give it to driver 7. Allgaier is there.
Well, and as I said at the beginning of the race about Elliott Sadler, knowing, this is how you have to take care of your car, and this is where you need to be on the racetrack. Practice is a big part of this race, Michael, and why I say that is it always seems to be so much different from practice to the race here, and especially as that sun sets on this racetrack, the track is going to change, and I just believe that you race off of your notebook here, and that may be one thing that comes to bite Christopher Bell if he doesn't contend to win this race and win this race, is the fact that his notebook isn't very thick yet, and that's how you get good at this racetrack, is to race off of your notebook and almost be able to just set everything aside in practice and say, this is what I'm looking for. I'm not the fastest car, but this is what I need for tonight. And that's hard to do.
Does stage racing help young guys in that regard, Kevin, knowing those brakes are coming so you can reset as we see problems for the 74 of Mike Harmon?
Well, I think stage racing is something that definitely helps those guys, especially in this series, because the stages are so short. So I think you can be more aggressive early for sure.
15 laps in here at Richmond. Cole Custer started on the pole. He's led them all. Nemechek, Allgaier, Bell, Hamrick, your top 5.
Obviously, when you come to a short track, there's a lot that can happen. This race is no different. Last week at Bristol, we saw a lot of great action.
Obviously, I hope I can win, but if not, it'd be really cool to see some of these other guys that are running part-time, like I did last year, trying to make a name for themselves.
I'm going to go with me or my teammate Justin Allgaier. We've got a pretty good track record at this race the last couple of years. Our cars are pretty good in practice. We're looking forward to one of us trying to win the $100,000 tonight.
I love how these teammates are talking nice about one another. Just wait till there's about 10 laps to go. Huh? So we're under caution for the first time in the ToyotaCare 250. David Starr had a problem in the 52, so he's going to get pushed back to pit road. You have 3 sets of tires in the pits. No way you come down here, right?
Just can't do it. Got to save a set for later. We know we're going to want tires at the stage breaks, right?
I mean, tires are like gold here. I mean, you want the tires to have at the end of the race, so you don't want to use them up early for sure.
As predicted, pit road is open, and none of the front runners come down. We'll step aside, back to Richmond after this with Cole Custer out front. Richmond, aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Everything they learn making tires for the grueling demands of NASCAR inspires what rolls into yours. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. Caution is wrapped up, set to go green one more time. Cole Custer, the race leader, taking the inside lane.
Well, these restarts just get harder and harder the more cycles that you put on the tires, and you see the 42 car get down on the bottom, and it just becomes more difficult the more laps that you get on the tires. And you see Christopher Bell making a liar out of me. He rolls around the top up there and gets some grip. So, but the restarts are so important here, but they're so hard to get right.
And it's also really interesting, Adam. I think you run through 1 and 2 on the high side. He dove right to the bottom and made it stick down low down there. That takes some discipline. After running so fast on the top side, he dropped it right to the bottom, made it work on the low side as well.
Did someone say something mean to him on the radio in the corners 1 and 2? Because he was shot out of a can and went from like 4th or 5th to 2nd on the outside.
What a lot of times what happens here is you'll ride around under caution, it'll pick up all that rubber, and there'll be some grip, and those lines will rubber up, and that groove is going to move up some, especially as you get that trash blown up the racetrack, and you get things rolling around that middle groove a little bit better.
Look at Noah Gragson. He went around the high side like you said. I also saw Allgaier up in front looking to the outside. Do you think this is a sign of what we're going to see more of as the race goes forward? Are they going to widen out and have a couple lanes, or do you think the preferred lane will always be the bottom?
I think it just depends on how far they go on tires. I think as you run through the night, I think the racetrack is going to move up. I think that those lines and those seams are going to rubber up. And I think that the bottom is still going to be the place to be. But I think as you run further into the run, you're going to start searching for grip. The only thing that worries me about that is that clean racetrack up there. And we already know this is a heavy wear racetrack on the tires. And I think as that clean racetrack and you start moving the groove up, it's going to be even harder on the right front tire and the right rear tire. So you could create some of your own tire problems trying to widen the groove out.
And like Kevin said earlier, when these guys pit and put on new tires, it could change the handling of their cars tremendously. So that's when you talk about your notebook and what exactly happens as the sun sets. You put laps on your tires, you have to pit and put brand new tires on. What kind of adjustments does the crew chief make?
And the other thing that comes into play here is the last year or 2 years we've been racing during the day. So, we don't have a lot of experience other than Elliott Sadler and Allgaier and a couple of these guys that have been here for a while. But some of these guys that have been here for 2 or 3 years have only raced in the night a few years ago if they've been here that long. So it's a very tricky racetrack to know where you need to have your car. And as that sun continues to creep down, the temperature is going to go down, and that track temp is going to go down even though it was cool today.
Third consecutive week, we've seen a new face driving a 3-car for Richard Childress Racing. Saw Jeb Burton there riding back in the 12th position. Meanwhile, at the front, Cole Custer has a customer. That would be Christopher Bell running second, but peaking for the lead. Custer has led the first 31 laps, but I'm not sure how much longer he's going to stay on point.
Yeah, Bell's starting to move around. We've watched Kyle Larson be the master at finding a new groove, finding a place on the racetrack where his car will pick up speed, and that's what Bell's doing here. Dirt racers like to find some fresh pavement and figure out a way to move their car around on the track to pick up speed, and I think that's exactly what Bell's doing here.
And this is not his first trip here. Go back last fall when he started 14th and finished 6th, running that part-time schedule as he competed full-time in the Camping World Truck Series. And there it goes for the lead inside Christopher Bell. Cannot get there this time. Custer hangs on. He led that lap at the line.
He used the high side, Adam, to get that momentum and get the run. And when he cut to the bottom,
outside full.
Couldn't close the deal.
Still there full. On your tight again, easy, clear.
Yeah, and Cole's definitely not making it easy up there. I mean, you see him right on his door, and this is definitely one of those racetracks where you have to be able to finish the corner on exit in order to get the throttle down, in order to get the front tires or the rear tires to drive up off the corner.
This is for position and potentially $100,000. Hamrick, Allgaier going at it in the top 5.
Whoa. Allgaier says, I'm going to need a little space here, buddy. And he got the door shut off the turn.
What was the reaction there, Matt?
Quiet on the radio, but when you look overall, the only comments he's made is the fact that, and Kevin touched on it, the sun is setting, track's starting to change. After that caution, Justin Allgaier telling his team that simply, I do not have the grip, which was my advantage around other cars earlier on since that caution.
I'll tell you who does have the grip, Adam, and I'm liking what I'm seeing from Elliott Sadler. He's been able to move up nicely since the green flag. You could see make the move on the outside there.
And just behind Allgaier and Sadler, the teammates, the two of Matt Tifft. He's got a strong car early, Regan.
Matt Tifft does have a strong car from 12th to 7th in the early going. He's a little bit free right now, but he's okay with the freeness. What he's really complaining about is a little bit of brake shake. It's awful early in the race for brake shake. In my opinion, Kevin, is there anything more annoying at Richmond than brake shake?
No, there's not, and it happens here a lot. And a lot of times what happens is the brakes are too cold, because Richmond is one of those racetracks that the front straightaway is longer than a lot of the places that we go to. So the brakes cool down. You go into turn 3, they get hot. So it's a place where the brakes shake a lot.
Hamrick up to 3rd around Nemechek. Behind him, Sadler and Allgaier, the 7, now 6th.
Mine's killed. The 21 put me in the fence on purpose, and now it's killed. Take a deep breath. When we get to 75 lap, we'll work on it.
I'm concerned a bit about that left rear tire, Kevin. That thing looks like it's rubbed pretty good. Could develop a slow leak there and have an issue.
Well, I can tell you that he's going to be really happy when he sees it, because these composite bodies are a lot tougher than those steel bodies that they used to run on the race cars. And that thing would have been in serious trouble with a metal body. That side would have been flat, and the left side would have had a huge dent in the left rear as well. But he's definitely struggling right now. We saw him go early in the race, Mike, and he pushed his car really hard, and it looked really good, and now he's going backwards.
What about these two? We talked about how great the racing here is at Richmond. This is for the lead. And they look like they're running fairly hard as well, bud.
Still full. Still full.
Last time Bell made that run at him, looked like he was going to get the top spot, and once he didn't get it, lost momentum. He took his time, has reeled him back in, and he's heated up Custer one more time.
And you see Custer with those. You see Custer with those right sides on those hash marks through 3 and 4, and I think and through 1 and 2 now. As the night goes on, those lines and that seam will rubber up, and we'll just have to see which groove becomes the preferred groove with the most speed. But right now it's a little bit fresher, and you know, Christopher has I think a better car, but Cole's doing everything he can because why? Stage points.
That's exactly right.
Everybody wants the stage points.
Well, no, Cup drivers here, you want a stage win for a playoff point. This is a big opportunity race for all these guys going for the championship.
And you know who the winner is in that? Us.
Absolutely.
Right. What great racing we see with these Xfinity racers.
We've got to take a break, but we're going to go side by side. So if we have a change for the lead, you will see it, making it right here. Bell inside of Custer. It's good stuff at the front. Yeah. New leader in the ToyotaCare 250 for the NASCAR Xfinity Series here at Richmond. You saw it while we were in break. Christopher Bell going around Cole Custer in the 0-0.
Just changed his lane. We saw Custer go up top where he saw Bell making progress, and when Custer opened up the bottom, Christopher said, thank you very much.
Well, and that tells me, you know, Christopher can go in there high and be able to touch the throttle pedal just a little bit to get the thing to rotate and then squeeze the throttle down and drive up off the corner good.
24 to go, stage 1. What are they thinking in the 20 camp?
You not want them to run any switches here then, Jason? No. When he turned them on today in practice, they started shaking, so I told him unless he gets pedal fade, we'll leave them off. Okay, 10-4. Holler if I don't have a really good view into 3 yet. If you see any glow, we need to do anything that, holler, let me know.
And that goes right back to what Regan was saying with the brake shake. You want the brakes to almost be too hot here. So if the brakes are not fading, you want to run them as hot as the rotors as hot as you can so that they don't start shaking, because like I say, this front straightaway is so long it cools them off and it will shake the steering wheel out of your hands. It shakes so bad.
Bell's up front, and that's not shocking because he's led at least one lap in 7 of our first 8 races so far in 2018. But how about the effort of his teammate, Noah Gragson? Hadn't been in one of these cars, makes his debut at a tough little short track, and he's inside the top 5.
Yeah, I mean, he has done a good job all weekend. I think as you watch him and you see him overdrive in the car, and then the next lap in qualifying, he's doing a little bit better. He's made great adjustments all weekend, and that's really what this is all about, is being able to adapt and adjust and pick up on things, and these young kids are very good at doing that.
And you have to do it on the fly. I mean, the whole world's watching. Your crew's trying to figure out the adjustments they need to make, and they're seeing you miss your lane, miss your groove in the corners, and being able to adjust and adapt early is very important. And Noah's proven to be very good at that.
Gragson making his debut in the Xfinity Series. Hamrick doing it at the Monster Energy Series level. He'll race here tomorrow night in the 8 car for Richard Childress Racing. One of our 4 Dash for Cash drivers tonight, as he does run for the championship on the Xfinity side. And he's having a great evening. Up to 3rd and all over Cole Custer here.
Go ahead, Mike.
I'm sorry. He's been really impressive. Another guy that I'm like watching is the 2 of Matt Tifft. He's been able to move forward. He's got a really solid car. He's battling here with Tyler Reddick, and we saw Reddick all over the wall a couple of times in practice, so he skinned the side of his number 9 car, but it looks like they've got it dialed in. Those 2 have run down John Hunter Nemechek for that 6th spot.
The 9 car of Tyler Reddick for me in practice was the most eventful, because he was getting every bit of his money's worth out of those Goodyear tires, and scared me several times in practice. But that's how we've seen him figure out, okay, I can go this far and do this, and he's very aggressive in the car.
Let me give him that award for 2 weeks in a row. What do you think? You felt the same way about Bristol, didn't you?
He earned it 10 laps into practice at Bristol last week. And look behind him. We said Jeb Burton's here in the 3 car. He's inside the top 10. RCR having a great evening. And you and I talked about this, Kevin. Historically, this has been a really good venue for that team.
I was telling you before the race started, when we came to Richmond, when I drove at RCR, this was our moneymaker. We felt like we could win every race here, and especially in the Xfinity Series, we felt like we should win every race here. If one of us did not leave this racetrack with the trophy, we felt like it was a disappointing weekend. And I think you're seeing Matt Tifft and Daniel Hamrick, who I believe is going to race with Christopher Bell for this win, and Jeb Burton in the 3 car. I think this is an important weekend for him. I mean, he's in one of those Ryan Preece type situations. You know, you're going to get an opportunity. Show me what you can do. Can you capitalize on the moment? And we'll see if Jeb can do that.
Well, and then last week at Bristol, Shane Lee drove that 3 car, and man, he set the standard. He ran in practice. He was in the top 10, ran a lot of the race inside the top 10. So he did a great job. And I know Jeb Burton was watching that saying, I can't wait for my turn at the short track in Virginia. And he's taking advantage of it as well.
Nice battle in front of him for 7th. That's his teammate Matt Tifft in the 2. The 9, as we talked about, of Tyler Reddick, and Elliott Sadler finding some ground as we head to the late stages of this first segment of the race. Looking outside of Cole Custer, that is for 3rd.
Well, and I believe you better have a good long-run car, and I think you're obviously seeing Bell and Hamrick and Sadler having good long-run cars. Gragson, you're seeing the 0-0 of Cole Custer fade some. The 42 of John Hunter Nemechek is fading on the long run here. Who else? Allgaier is fading on the long run. Look at Jeremy Clements coming up there. He's 13th, but you know, Elliott Sadler has raced here a lot, and he obviously knows what he wants in his car, and just for whatever reason, this has become a long run racetrack.
You mentioned Jeremy Clements. If you go from 11th to 15th, and now we've got a caution with 13 to go in stage 1. See Syndrich there. He's had a great evening. Went to the rear, unapproved adjustments, already up to 14th.
Yeah, you better watch him. That's some really good lap times from Syndrich as he's fought his way through traffic into contention. And we know how much a difference a pit stop is going to make. There you see
Josh Bilicki bringing out our second caution of the night, into the wall into 45. And now the question becomes, what do you do from a strategy standpoint, Larry? Because we're closing on the end of stage 1. Do you come now and stay out later, or do you save yourself and come when this stage is in fact all done?
No question, Adam. If you're back there and you're, say, like Jeb Burton in the 3 car that's in 9th on back, especially Allgaier and Gallagher, you're trying to win this race. And you come now, get those tires, and stay out at the end of stage 1. I don't know if we'll see anybody right at the very front come, but I think if you're back there about 7th, 8th, 9th on back, you come now.
Free pass here goes to Brandon Brown, driving the 90. He's in the 26th position. So we likely will end stage 1 with at least 26 cars on the lead lap. A number of other guys could take the wave around here depending on if we get a number of takers, but likely won't see the front runners pit enough to open the door for guys to take that wave around.
You heard the crew chief vote. What do you say, driver? You coming if you're back there 8th, 9th?
Well, I don't think you have anything to lose. And, you know, I think as you have raced here before, I think if you run 8 or 9 laps on your tires, it's going to be a handful when you go back to green. So
we know John Hunter Nemechek's going to make a pit stop. Noah Gragson doing the same. Regan Smith.
Yeah, John Hunter Nemechek, we see him coming down pit road, as well as Noah Gragson. Noah Gragson's race car is loose everywhere. He feels like the right rear was burned up pretty early on in that run, even though we saw him continue to go forward. He's going to take 4 tires and fuel here. In the 42 of John Hunter Nemechek, he started to get tight, the center, and loose off of 2 as the race went on there, Matt.
And Spencer Gallagher, still another one of those cars that was losing the balance later in that run. Much more on the free side, an air pressure adjustment to try to tighten her up.
He stayed right around the 15th position throughout this opening stage. Talking about Spencer Gallagher, one of the drivers going for our $100,000 here tonight. Christopher Bell leads at Richmond. drivers coming down pit road under this, our second caution of the night. Had a tire get away. Equipment leaving the box. They got it all buttoned up. He'll restart at the rear. About to go green once again in the ToyotaCare 250. And when we do so, less than 10 laps remaining. 6, in fact, in stage number 1. Christopher Bell takes the outside lane, and Hamrick got him down low.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how NASCAR views that as far as beating him back to the line and taking off there. So
you can see a big run off turn 2 by Bell. He's going to try to swing to the outside of Hamrick.
And these cars are so hard to turn in the middle of the corner, and then as soon as they turn, the rear tires want to spin up off the corner. And on these restarts, we've seen that second lane be better with the right sides on those hash marks and then cutting across the racetrack. And some guys have made it work all the way around the corner. But I wish I could explain how hard they are to drive with almost 75 laps on the tires.
Less than 5 laps to go, stage 1. Hamrick out front. He's thinking about a playoff point. That's Bell behind him. Saw Elliott Sadler was on the move, trying to get third from Cole Custer. Jeb Burton moving forward. He's now in the top 5. Some real good energy here as we wrap up this first stage.
There's always such great stories on the short tracks, and watching Jeb Burton move toward the front, seeing Hamrick battling hard here with Christopher Bell. A lot going on in this race right now, and the 22 of Austin Syndrich has climbed his way from last inside the top 10 now. So good run for him.
And what about Bell outside lane on the restart? Did that catch you guys off guard there? What are you guys thinking? We'll see the replay here. We've been informed no penalties.
Let's check this out. Looked like maybe a little bit of wheel spin there.
Spun his tires. Great call by NASCAR, because you have to have some common sense in those calls. And obviously they looked at that. From me looking at it, I saw the 21 beat him to the line. But looking at that replay, and Christopher Bell, he took off, spun those tires, and the 21 got a good launch, and that was a good fair call. So it's so hard to not spin the tires on the restarts. I mean, you just creep into the throttle in that restart zone, and it's kind of in the corner down there. So it's tough to get those rear tires to hook up. But that 21 car, you know, he hears the chatter about how everybody thinks he needs to win a race, and he's been so close to winning a race. I think Daniel Hamrick he's a lot like Ryan Preece. I think you know, they've been working on getting their cars better, and you never know when his night is going to be, because I think he could do a lot of really good things in this sport. It's just a matter of getting to victory lane.
First stage win, 2018. Daniel Hamrick gets it done. Bell was second. Custer, Burton, Sadler, the top 5. So if you're going to win $100,000, this is a pretty good way to start. Grab the lead on that restart and win stage 1. Daniel Hamrick feels good.
And we get to talk to him about it.
We'll hear from him when we return to Richmond in the ToyotaCare 250. Stage 2 complete. Pit road is open. They're heading your way, Matt.
And the 3 of Jeb Burton, what a great run he's had. Started 14th, worked his way up into the top 5, clean tear off. Burton was saying the car loose on entry, but it was not bad at all. Where he was losing time earlier in that run was across the center. Let's go to Regan.
Well, the 21 car of Daniel Hamrick is free on entry. If he charges the corner too hard, he's going to keep trying to back his corner up. They're going to give him 4 tires and an air pressure adjustment. The 20 car of Christopher Bell, he's good, happy with his race car, just needs a little bit more front turn. 4 tires for him. And the 00 of Cole Custer, he used up his tires too early in that run. 4 tires and air pressure for him.
Race off pit road goes to Christopher Bell. Hamrick dropped 1 spot. Custer status quo. Sadler +1 and +2 for Tyler Reddick. And keep in mind, they will restart behind those drivers that pitted prior to the end of the stage at lap 65.
See if we can raise Daniel Hamrick. Daniel, it's Michael, Harvick, and Adam up in the booth. Do you copy?
Yeah, I got you, guys.
That was a pretty impressive restart there to grab that stage win. How's your car? You feel good about the rest of the night?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the track's going through a change here, so proud of these guys at South Point Hotel Casino Chevrolet for busting their tails all day making that decent. So we'll see now. It's a different game. Those are old heat cycle tires we just got off of, and first set of stickers. So we'll see which way the balance goes. Still a long way to go.
How do you adjust a car you just won a stage with? By changing tires, did you have to make a chassis adjustment as well?
Just some small stuff. The direction, the history, we think the racetrack's going to go, but I've been wrong with that stuff too. So we'll see. This will be our real indication of who's got what.
All right, bud. Have fun. Congratulations.
Copy that, guys. Enjoy the show.
We said that you want to get stage points in an event like this. You want to win the stage, but you also want to be in the top 10. So how about Ryan Truex and Austin Syndrich? This is right at the end of the stage. Things getting physical. They were 3 wide, and they didn't appreciate the way this went down. It's not a Friday night at a short track if someone's not talking a little trash. Am I right? Truex and Syndrich not seeing eye to eye here. We're back to Richmond in a moment. Ready for Stage 2, NASCAR Xfinity Series at Richmond. Let's go on this date, April 20th. Fenway Park officially opened in 1912. Still one of the great sporting venues anywhere. How about Madonna signing a $60 million record deal? That was big in the early 90s. The Bulls won 72 games in 96, and in 97, Fox's own Jeff Gordon winning at Martinsville, the second of his 9 grandfather clocks earned. About ready to begin our second stage, and as we do so, we remind you, pacing the field tonight, the 2018 Toyota Camry XSE.
You know what I love about that car right there, Adam? Back when Toyota came to NASCAR racing, a Camry looked like pretty much an old man's car. And because of the influence of NASCAR, they've really made those things sporty. And I think NASCAR has an effect on all the manufacturers that participate here.
What's going on here?
Looks like a scoring line. Is that right, Kevin? Maybe coming up out of the track for some reason?
Yeah, I'd say that where they put those scoring lines in there, it's either, you know, it looked like a rope.
Yeah.
But I think it might have been silicone or something that they, or whatever that epoxy that they put in the cracks back there to cover up those timing lines.
Following up on pit stops, let's check in with Matt on the 7 of Justin Allgaier.
Day has only gotten worse for the 7 of Allgaier. Remember earlier when he got into the wall, the car was never the same. In fact, he said it just progressively got worse. They brought the car back a second time, raised the hood just to see if anything suspension-wise was bent. It looked okay. Justin just feels like the car is towed out, just killing him on lap time now.
He's going to be 27th for the restart, by far and away the worst of those 4 drivers going for the dash for cash tonight. Tops in that category, Spencer Gallagher. Remember, he pitted at lap 65, stayed out at the end of stage 1. Daniel Hamrick is 7th after winning that first stage. Elliott Sadler going to restart in the 9th position, and we will go green next time around.
I'm going to be interested, Kevin, to watch Spencer Gallagher. When they had that restart with just a few laps to go in that first stage, he ran last. Heck, he almost got lapped. He was just going so slow, taking care of the tires on that 23 car, knowing how important they are here. Conversely, John Hunter Nemechek charged in his car. Be interested to see how that plays out here.
Well, I like the take care of your tire strategy, and I don't know how this is going to work out for the 42.
Top 5 cars all pitted at lap 65, so their tires are older. First on fresh tires, pitting at lap 79, Christopher Bell. He will go from the outside of row 3. Underway in stage 2 at Richmond.
Hello.
When do you make up ground on a restart? Thank you very much.
Oh, so close. Spencer Gallagher shuts the door on Elliott Sadler in that 23 car.
Mike, it looks to me like we've got 3 grooves that are drivable because we've got Tyler Reddick up there 3 wide on the top for a whole lap. So
look at, so close. How do y'all do that, Kevin? Leaning all over each other.
Well, this is very interesting, and I think as we saw before the caution came out, Daniel Hamrick was the fastest car at the end of that stage, and you heard him talk about making adjustments to his car because the sun has gone down, because they're putting sticker tires on. Lots of variables going into this run, and I think as you see him make his way through traffic right here, and by these guys that just had 5-6 laps on their tires, 1 cycle on these tires is a huge difference at this racetrack, and I think you're going to see him take the lead here very shortly.
Look at that nice run up off the corner. You can see really good forward traction for the 21. And heck, he gets down in there pretty good too.
Hamrick is good as he's ever been right now. When you look at the run this team has been on, the confidence they have built, they brought it all here to Richmond. You felt like all the stars were aligning, past success, fast race cars. He's second right now, and not too far behind him, Elliott Sadler is 5th. What's the story there, Matt?
And to add on what Kevin was talking about concerning just the scuff versus sticker tires, that's what Kevin Mendering and Elliott Sadler were discussing. They just didn't know how big is the lead change here with the 21 car side by side. They really didn't know how much of an adjustment to make going with the sticker tires. The best thing, he says, I need 20 to 25 lap long run for my car to really come in.
Daniel Hamrick took the lead on a restart late in stage one. Got the green and white checkered flag there and trying to take the top spot away from John Hunter Nemechek despite the older tires. Driver 42, pretty solid out front.
And you got to give a shout out to Chad Norris, the crew chief on Spencer Gallagher's 23 car. We talked about them laying off those tires, running a really slow pace on the new ones. That's paid off for him. Outside the top 15 early in the race, now staying right up there in the top 5.
But Gregson on older tires as well. He'd never been here, up there with all those veterans, and he's hanging tough in third.
Well, I think as you look at those guys, Gregson is one of those guys that stayed out, so his tires were up a little bit. I think as you get to about lap 10, I think you're going to see these guys that pitted have a little bit of an advantage, but it just takes that long in order to get the tires built up to run your optimum lap.
One of those that went the wrong direction on that cycle of stops, the 3 of Jeb Burton. He's now 15th and in traffic.
Man, some of these guys, you run them down from a straightaway and they want to race you. It's like, I don't know what the hell Truex was doing, but we ran him down from full track and he wants to run on my door for 2 laps. Oh, yeah. Xfinity racing, bus.
I just love a Burton on the radio, you know?
Things have changed, buddy. It's stage racing, and you've got to get everything that you can because it's definitely not. There's not a lot of give and take in a 75-lap shootout for stage points.
And you're fixed to see 3 wide as Christopher Bell goes for the bottom. Oh, he gave him a break.
Bell slid back a little bit on that restart, but he's starting to find his way once again. Gregson looking to the outside of Hamrick. Gallagher is right there. This from second on back. Sadler starting to reel in this group.
How good is this? The action track is living up to its name. Great short track racing.
Gregson outside lane to the runner-up position.
And it looks like Daniel Hamrick's car is a little bit too tight in the center right now. He's having to slow down in the center of the corner, and I don't know if he's just doing that to try to stay on the bottom or if he's just fighting an ill-handling race car right now. But he's definitely too tight in the center of the corner and can't carry the speed that he needs. But we'll see if that pays off for him in the long run.
Bell goes to the outside. Gallagher following through.
If anyone's taking care of their tires, Kevin, I can't tell it.
Yeah.
They're loose, they're squirrely. Spencer Gallagher around the high side of Hamrick.
And how about Spencer Gallagher's team? The progression and the things that they have done with that GMS team to be competitive in this Xfinity series says a lot about the commitment that they have to not only this series, but the truck series and the sport in general. And when you see that commitment from Spencer and his family and Mike Beam and everybody over there, last year, these guys weren't even in the ballpark when they came to an Xfinity race. Now they're running up there in the top 5 and legitimate contenders.
At this point of the year in 2017, he was averaging a finishing position outside the top 20. This year, inside the top 10. You got to give a lot of credit to Maury Gallagher, the owner of the team, and the folks there, but also the maturity of Spencer behind the wheel. He's meshed in nicely with this opportunity, and he's doing a great job.
And we're not talking about just putting cars together. These guys build their own chassis. They do everything top to bottom to get these cars to the racetrack.
Teammates racing for second. Mentioned Gregson. Bell is just behind him, side by side for fourth.
Tires are equal in and out now, so it's just keeping the drive in. 10-4.
I just love the job John Hunter's doing here leading this race, but keep your eye on Elliott Sadler. He's a veteran. He's probably going to be the last guy to burn up his tires early in a run, understanding he's got a good car under him. Watch for him to just start picking them up and putting them down here as we get some laps on these tires.
And, you know, I'm surprised, and we mentioned that he was struggling, but Hamrick really has gone the wrong direction since we went back green. I thought it was going to be instant. He goes up, reclaims the top spot. Not the case. He's 6th right now, Regan.
Well, the radios have been lighting up down here, Adam, with guys telling and spotters telling their drivers to protect their tires. We just heard this from Daniel Hamrick.
It's got to be smart, not blow completely apart here as far as the tires. Just be smart. They'll back up to it like they have all night.
Every spotter and every crew chief in my section has been yelling at their drivers, protect your tires, protect your tires. It's on everybody's mind right now.
I just don't know how, as a driver, you balance that in your mind, because nature is go past the guy in front of you, and you just can't always do that here.
Well, there's a few things that you can do. Obviously, you know, you don't want to overcharge the corner and push the car up the racetrack and be hard on the right front tires. So if you can be easier in the corner and still maintain a good lap time and not spin the tires up off.
Whoa. Just a wide arc into the corner there for the 00 of Cole Custer, and he got in to the 5 of Michael Annette, sending Michael up near the wall.
Almost looked like he had to take a bite out of the steering wheel there, like he got a little bit loose. There's a new patch going down into turn 1, and obviously we haven't raced over it before, but it does affect the car, as far as the splitter hitting. So I don't know if the timing of that caused that, but he definitely had to take a bite out of the steering wheel.
What was it you said about Elliott Sadler taking care of his tires? It looks like the one's really starting to come into it here.
I mean, you just have to know he's the most experienced of those guys up front and understands the best what to do in order to be good on the long haul here at Richmond. Never won. Said it would be the most important victory of his career if he could win here tonight.
Now be careful. He's chasing down your guy, Christopher Bell. That was your pre-race pick, was it not, Michael? Halfway through stage 2 in the ToyotaCare 250. I thought there would be a change for the lead while we were away. That's not the case. But as it turns out, we return to the action here at Richmond, and there goes Christopher Bell, high lane around John Hunter Nemechek, and Elliott Sadler not far behind.
I think Elliott wants the high line. You saw the momentum he had off the corner, decided not to dive to the bottom, liked what Bell did up there, but look how strong Nemechek's holding on.
Well, this is about the same time that Nemechek's car shut off in the first stage of the race. So it looks like about 30 to 40 laps is the spot where he starts to lose a little bit of ground. But if we come down to a short run, we saw that with Kyle Larson. His car is really good on a short run on the Cup side. If you can get into those first 30 laps with the 42, I think he'll have something for him. But anything after that, it looks like he's just managing the car and trying to lose as few positions as possible.
I love Christopher Bell's car tonight. I felt like he would be really strong, but I've been impressed with Elliott Sadler. I thought he might have just been sitting there licking his chops, waiting for those others, leaders, Nemechek and Bell, to start slipping and sliding, and he would flex his muscle. But now that Bell's got out in the lead, I think maybe Sadler's got to push the button here. He needs to get going.
I think we'll find out real soon if Sadler can get by Nemechek what he has for the 20. Here's our Ford Performance track facts. Roush Fenway, the all-time wins leader here in the Xfinity Series. 9 times they took it to victory lane. First Ford Xfinity victory at Richmond came from Mark Martin. No surprise there. In 1987, Sadler is able to get around Nemechek. Gregson is there for third, and now we watch the 1. And what can he do with Christopher Bell with 31 laps remaining in our second stage? And here are a couple of cars that have had great performances tonight. Not so much right now. Custer and Hamrick, both outside the top 5, racing for 7th on track.
Kevin, are you surprised at all by the multiple grooves, how these guys are seemingly able to use the high line to get around other guys?
I'm not. You know, I think as we've seen in the past, you know, that those lines and that seam have grip once they get it cleaned off and they get the rubber on the paint there. So, you know, I think as the run goes further in, I think you're even going to see it move up higher as it gets cleaner, and you'll see that next set of the lanes start to get cleaned off, and you'll see them start to make a little bit of time there. But I still believe you're going to have to be versatile. I think you're going to have to be able to run on the bottom, and we've seen Christopher Bell pass with his right sides on that seam. So it's been the same old Richmond. You got multiple grooves, and it's hard to grab a hold of.
Well, I'm loving every minute of it. This is just really exciting racing. Here comes Austin Syndrich. He's on the inside of Daniel Hamrick. He's going to take that spot away. So solid effort again by Syndrich.
There's a theme developing here. You look at the top 10, a lot of rookies, second-year drivers running well tonight at Richmond, and this is one tough place, Larry.
Yeah, I just been studying the scoring monitor. We have 5 rookies that are in the top 10. You've got Bell, you've got Gregson, you've got Nemechek, you've got Syndrich, and you've got Reddick. And think about 3 of those drivers. Gregson, John Hunter Nemechek, Syndrich, they've never run an Xfinity Series race here, and it's been well documented. Noah Gregson, his first career start period. So I think the future of this sport's pretty healthy.
Hey, and put an extra star by the 22 of Syndrich, who started at the rear. We know that vehicle is fast. Won 3 consecutive races with 3 different drivers, with Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney. Syndrich not near as much experience, but he's been impressive here today. Quick in practice, qualifying, and obviously now that the green flag is in the air.
Well, the thing that I like about Syndrich is the fact that he's not crashing the car anymore, and it seems like he's really started to settle in on how to keep the car going straight and how to keep the fenders on it, and that's the most important part. You have to finish the races, you have to keep the car in one piece, and now that he's doing that, he's starting to run up in the top 10, he's starting to get solid finishes, but the only way you get that experience is to make the mistakes.
And it's the same way with these kids when they come to the Truck Series. You watch them slip and slide, and they finally get their arms around it. A great example of that is Noah Gregson, currently running in the 3rd spot. He learned how to be calm and patient in the trucks, and he's showing how mature he is now that he's racing in the Xfinity Series.
Bell leading. He's been out front for 36 laps here tonight, but I'm not sure he's going to stay there. We were talking about the rookies. So cue the 40-something. Here's Elliott Sadler trying to get the top spot away from the 20 of Christopher Bell.
Now, you guys know I like the old guys.
I know who you're rooting for.
Yeah, I like the old guys. You know, so I was very aware of the average age. It was 38.5 in the Cup Series, you know, when I checked a week ago.
Hey,
but
on the Xfinity side, Sadler understands the balance of age and experience versus the youth as well.
The only thing about the Xfinity Series is I don't know that there's enough older guys in the series to ever get the age that high.
That's right. What's up with our leader for now, Regan?
Well, he's got a really good pit box tonight, Adam. It's pit box number 3. Because of that, his crew chief can see the car going into the corner perfectly. We just picked up this radio transmission from Jason Ratcliffe.
All right, you got to help me out on those front rotors now. There you go. I need some help on the front rotors. They're still going pretty good.
I was always a big fan when my crew chief was sitting in the corner. It could let me know what my brakes look like. It helped me from the driver's seat to manage them a little bit better.
What's that balance like, Kevin? He's leading the race. He thinks he's maybe taking care of his stuff, looks in his mirror. Here comes Elliott Sadler. How quickly can you get those brakes heated up?
Well, you can heat them up really quick here, but the one thing I want you guys to notice here, and you're probably not going to be able to see it this lap, but I want you to notice how much narrower Elliott Sadler's entry is into turn 1. Christopher Bell is way out wide as we'll go into the corner. This will be a great shot of it. But you'll see Elliott, he'll be a car width. Look how much sooner he turns into that corner. To me, that's a huge advantage here at Richmond because of the fact that his car is turning good enough that he can enter that low. Bell's all the way out wide on the entrance to the corners and not able to drive it in there straight like Elliott is into turn one. And that tells me that Elliott's car is turning better.
And that also keeps him out of Bell's wake, which means that air is getting right on the nose of the one car, helping the downforce. We're running over 140 miles an hour down into the corners, Kevin. Aerodynamics are important.
And the other thing that you have to think about is when you can enter a little bit lower like that, you can also drive it in further because you don't have that big arc and the car yawed out on the entrance of the corner.
Evidently, he can turn better because he just went to the inside, took over the top spot.
I'll give you some lap times here.
Fifth leader of the night is Elliott Sadler.
Spotter Brett Griffin saying, now that you got the lead, I'll tell you some lap times. Elliott will get out front and take care of that car too. We understand that experience will help him do that.
Could it be the perfect night? Sadler wins at his home track, gets the dash for cash, and one of the others going for the big money is Daniel Hamrick. He has faded back to 15th. What's up with the 21, Regan?
Well, a little bit of an answer as to what's going on with that car. Just over the radio now, he said, I've got a right front tire going down. The team has asked him to try and baby it to get to the end of this run so they don't have to pit under green.
17 laps to go before we end stage 2. That's the one great thing about stage racing. You know when a caution is coming if you're dealing with a problem. And hey, we have got to give credit to the 18. Gregson is now up to second and he's on older tires. And in fourth is Matt Tiff. They could have an issue.
Look at our left rear. Look at our left rear. We get hit in the left rear tire. Yeah, it's got a small rub. Have to pull it out a little bit. Might be just hazing a little bit. It's the left rear though.
Continue to follow that story. So here's a little reset for you. 15 laps remaining in stage 2. Elliott Sadler is leading, fifth driver out front tonight. Gregson making his debut is second. Then it's Bell, Tiff, John Hunter Nemechek in the top 5. Your top 10, Cole Custer, Austin Syndrich, Tyler Reddick, Brandon Jones, and Spencer Gallagher. Gallagher in the number 2 position when you look at dash for cash drivers. Allgaier is 12th. Hamrick now back to 18th.
And I've never had a tire that I thought was going low last 17 laps to the end of a stage. So if it is indeed a flat tire, we're going to have to keep our eye on Hamrick because that will cause him an issue.
Well, you see the left rear of John Hunter Nemechek's car there. It looks like somebody's got into the left rear of his car. You see all the Goodyear lettering rubbed off of that car. You see Cole with his right sides on that seam up there. It seems like that kind of is the preferred groove depending upon how your car is working. But like we talked, Elliott Sadler is able to get down to the bottom. He's able to run the middle in between the seams. And you see Cole Custer go by John Hunter Nemechek there on the outside.
The sun is down. The lights at full song. Has the track gone through its final change, or will it continue to drift as we get into this last stage?
Usually it continues to drift a little bit as you get into the last stage, and you have a fair idea of where you're going at this particular point. But Mike, this used to be a racetrack when I raced the Xfinity cars. We would go from practice and we would tighten the car up 1% of dynamic wedge. No matter where you ended, you tighten the car up because it was going to get too loose.
We heard from Regan. Hamrick was 15th. Then he was 18th. Now 20th with 11 remaining.
It's a decision if you need to come and pin, dude. If you think you can make it, I need you to make that decision for me. Yeah, but you got to make the decision here.
I'd make it.
That tire's low.
Yeah, you can see it.
You can see that right front tire is low.
And it's going to blow out.
Yeah, I mean, it is. He needs to pit.
He's 18 seconds behind the race leader. And there will be 9 laps to go next time around on our second stage. And he's really dropping back now.
This guy's moving forward. What an impressive run for Matt Tiff. Looking at the scoring monitor, Adam, the last couple of laps, he's been the fastest car on the track. He drives around Christopher Bell. He's on a mission.
And that's what those RCR cars do. They're so good on the long run. And we saw Matt Tiff do this at the beginning or at the end of the first stage. So that's their strength. And I think as this night goes on with the longer laps in the last stage of this race, that could play into his benefit. So what a great story.
Yeah, I mean, in the bounce back, and we did find out this week the tumor area all clear, and so he can now go through 6 month checkups. He had a brain tumor 2 years ago, had to have surgery. An amazing comeback for a kid, inspiring so many people away from the racetrack, and it's great to see the success that he's having on.
I'm glad we're split screen here because I can't keep my eye on all the battles we're having on this racetrack. Just such great racing. Brandon Jones in the 19. He's starting to make a good run toward the front. Such an awesome run last week at Bristol. Looked like he had that thing in the bag. Had it get away late after some strategy on the last pit stop. He's rallying with a nice run here.
Lap traffic. Tyler Reddick just going to nose his way through. He finds the edge, and then he steps right over every time, I think, driver 9.
He is not afraid to put that car in any spot. I mean, if it doesn't look quite wide enough, he's going to figure out how to make it wide enough.
But he's like Bell, one of those open-wheel mentality kids, right? I mean, sometimes you load it on the trailer. Sometimes you win the race. Doesn't matter to him. He's going to go get all of it.
Well, and that's fun to see because you can always rein them in and pull them back and teach them how to take care of their car, and hopefully you can keep that speed in there as well as you try to pull the reins back a little bit.
Sadler in lap traffic just went around Ryan Sieg, who has scored just outside the top 20. Also put Chase Briscoe a lap down in 25th, and Hamrick 1 lap down, has fallen to the 26th position, but has not yet made a pit stop, dealing with that tire issue. Under 4 laps remaining, stage 2, and Elliott in position to get the victory.
You talked about reining a guy in. I spoke earlier about Noah Gragson. That's what they had to do to him in the Truck Series. But once they got him where at the right pace, he's been really impressive. And looks like that's going to continue over into the Xfinity Series. He was able to run down Elliott Sadler.
And there's the problem for Daniel Hamrick.
Yeah, and there was enough camera angles on the TV. I really feel like the team could have helped Daniel make that decision with his tire being down. The right front tire was noticeably down, and he's doing everything that he can to try to stay out on the racetrack. And that car's lucky it's not tore up worse than it is.
No caution, 2 laps to go. Second stage.
He's stopped up in turns 1 and 2.
And if they haven't thrown it yet, I can't imagine that they're going to. He's just limping around off the corner. Meanwhile, Elliott Sadler going to come back here and see 1 lap remaining.
Sadler working to the inside of a lapped car. That's Joey Gase in the 35. Gase up in the 23rd position. Nice effort for that team, and here comes Gragson.
Can't do it much better in the second stage for Elliott Sadler. Drove his way to the lead, going to get his first stage victory of the campaign. He takes the green and white checkered flag. Great effort for Noah Gragson, who was second. Matt Tiff finishes third. Bell was fourth. Cole Custer got back to the top 5. John Hunter Nemechek fell to 6th. Brandon Jones, Tyler Reddick, Austin Syndrich, Ryan Truex, the drivers scoring points in stage 2. And one of our Dash for Cash drivers likely out of contention, Daniel Hamrick, with a tough second stint here tonight. He is 30th, 2 laps down. It had a tire issue with less than 5 laps remaining. The disappointment and the pleasure of winning a stage at Richmond. 2 stages complete here at Richmond Raceway for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. All smiles for Elliott Sadler. Home racetrack, going for $100,000, has never won here. He gets the victory in stage 2. Now the question becomes, can he finish the deal?
You know, Kevin, the long green flag run we saw there, that's got Elliott Sadler written all over it. You know he knows how to take care of his stuff. You know he's got a great car. What I would be interested to see is how he reacts on this restart. Those young kids are going to be hounding all over him. He's going to be trying to take care of those tires. How will that work out?
Well, I think this is a little bit different for Elliott Sadler just because of the fact he wants to win here so bad.
Could be the final pit stop of the night, Matt. Here they are.
And Sadler said it took about 28 laps for that car to come in. The issue he's got is that when he goes to jump back in the gas, the car turns too well. They adjusted with a chassis adjustment. Left's going in. Regan.
The 2 car of Matt Tifft hits its pit stall. He's tight center and loose on exit. They're going to give him 4 tires, fuel, air pressure, and a small wedge adjustment. The 18 car of Noah Gragson, loose on entry, but it's been coming to him as the night goes on. Spotter Rick Pirelli's been coaching him to not rush the throttle. 4 tires and fuel for him. And the 20 car of Christopher Bell is too tight right now. He's going to get 4 tires, fuel, air pressure, and a chassis adjustment.
Great effort by the 1 team. 4 tires for Elliott Sadler. He wins the race off pit road. Gregson holding serve in second, and Bell able to gain a position on the pit lane there.
Well, let's talk to Elliott Sadler. What do you think? Elliott, it gives me great honor to call from this booth that you are the oldest guy up there running. The 2 guys behind you, their age together is not as old as you. So I'm really happy to call this, but you're doing a great job, bud. What do you have in that car down there?
You know, Kevin, you've instigated a lot of this year.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. We're trying to defend ourselves, but it's fun to watch up here. And as you watch up here, it looks like your car is turning really good to the center of the corner. So is that what you're feeling inside the car?
Yeah, I mean, my car's really good on entry, so that gives me a lot of stability where I can do some different things to the center of the corner. And this Team Chevy Camaro has been fun to drive tonight. It turns really good through the center, and you know, Kevin, it's just this normal Richmond. You know, how good do you let it roll through the center, and how good a forward bike do you have to have, and then try to keep it, because your car changes so much on a long run. So my guys have done a good job giving me a pretty good balanced car, and it's my job to try to take care of my stuff, but also hold track position, and it should be a fun last 100 laps.
Well, Elliott, we appreciate you talking with us, and congratulations on a stage win, and good luck with the rest of the race.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Sadler going to be the race leader when we go green on our final stage. Gregson, Bell, Tifft, Nemechek, your top 5 in the ToyotaCare 250.
sparks, you see the smoke, you see the lights, the reflections. There's just so many cool things about racing at night.
Whether it's racing go-karts, even with the first times we came here as fans, and then later in life as drivers, I think night racing just brings you back to your roots.
Get our first night race of the year underway will be really cool. As it amps up the intensity, it feels like kind of where you came from.
And it's a beautiful night here. Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Everything they learned making tires for the grueling demands of NASCAR inspires what rolls into yours. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. As we get ready for the green flag to begin our final stage, I remind you that when we were here in the fall, 89 laps under green to end it, we did not have a caution in the final stage. Guys like Cole Custer and the 9 of Tyler Reddick, the 19 of Brandon Jones, they don't want to see that here tonight because they were penalized on that last pit stop. That means they're going to start this thing from the rear. They all came off pit road in the top 10. That's tough.
Well, I think as you look at this particular race track, it has kind of taken on that green nature, but you can race all over it. That doesn't mean we're having bad racing. It just means that there's cars high, there's cars in the middle, there's cars on the bottom. You've got people that are good on the short runs, people that are good on the long runs. So it's interesting to see how this will play out.
10 pit road penalties tonight for these drivers in the race. It's been a tough evening in that regard.
Think we'll pit again or no? If the caution doesn't come out, no. If the caution comes out, yeah, we will. So, you know, you're going to have to run 90 green laps.
Noah Gragson talking things over with crew chief Eric Phillips. Race leader Elliott Sadler goes to that outside lane.
Saw some good speed. Oh, a little bit of blocking there. Matt Tiff closed the door on Tyler Reddick.
Put him in the fence.
Elliott Sadler slides high, and look, talked about the short haul compared to the long run. Noah Gragson was all over the gas there.
Gragson to the lead, Bell to second, Sadler outside of 3 wide, and we thought the 9 of Tyler Reddick penalized. Evidently that's not the case because he's up front and trying to make a move for the top 5.
Well, and Elliott Sadler did a great job right there minimizing the damage, Mike. He's you know, like we talked earlier, it's hard to get the car to turn because they probably got those air pressures really, really low in the car, and it just doesn't want to turn, which is probably why he's so good. One of the reasons why he's so good on the long run. So he did a great job minimizing the damage. He needs to get it back on the bottom of the racetrack right there and do everything he can. Oh, big wreck.
And that's the 7 of Justin Allgaier. Was just thinking about Sadler and how tight the racing was and the advantage he was enjoying in regard to the dash for cash. And here's his teammate Justin Allgaier, who's also eligible for the big payout.
Looks like not much damage to the 7 car. See him there on the high side of the racetrack.
Ooh, just checked up.
It seemed like maybe with Spencer Gallagher scrubbing along the outside wall, maybe lost some momentum, and Allgaier just closed in on him real quickly.
It looks like whoever was in front of the 23 car came up in front of him and maybe checked him up so he did. Yeah,
scrubbing the wall.
Yeah, came up. The car in front of Spencer came up. He checked up, and then they all just stacked up there.
Great job by those other drivers avoiding the spinning Allgaier.
5th caution of the night on board here with Chase Briscoe.
Record, back it down. Keep it up top.
Allgaier now scored in the 22nd position. Up front, Noah Gragson. What a debut for him in the Xfinity Series. just can't beat the emotion of a victory in NASCAR. That the reaction for Ryan Preece's family when he won last week at Bristol. 18 out front tonight, so we should welcome in Ryan Preece from his home in Connecticut. Ryan, thank you for being with us tonight.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Yeah, I mean, the 18 looks pretty sporty here, so it's good to see.
Did you give any advice to the team this week?
No, I don't think they took any advice from me. I'm sure Eric's got it completely under control, even though I try to give all the advice I can, especially when it comes to left rear spring. But no, I don't think he took my advice this week.
All right, hang tight here. We want to visit with you. First, we're going to get a restart, 80 laps to go, and we'll keep you on the line for a little bit and get the reaction from what your week has been like. Gregson takes the outside lane. Bell beside him, row 2. Sadler and Tift. Here we go once again. Sadler wants the top spot, making it 3 wide. Bell and Gregson side by side for the top spot. Here comes Matt Tift. Great restart here.
Well, and you saw those guys kind of pushing and shoving a little bit, and what that does is it starts the rear tires spinning because it'll kind of pick the back of the car up and make it light. So Elliott got a good run down into turn 1, and I think it's if he can keep himself in position, and these guys haven't made some good adjustments to their car, when we get about 30 laps into this run is when we are really going to see whether or not it's the same car that Elliott Sadler had in the last stage.
And Kevin, I think when you talk to Elliott, you could hear the concern in his voice about the short run speed and how aggressive he'd have to be on this restart and how that would affect his car on the long run. So I know he's going as fast as he can, but maybe just as fast as he wants to in order to maintain this track position so he can go get him on the longer run.
Bell has jumped out front. Gregson falls to second. Sadler is third and leading when you look at those drivers going for the dash for cash. Tift is fourth, and Austin Syndrich, after starting at the rear, finds himself in the 5th position. Let's go back to the phone, hear from Ryan Preece. So Ryan, all the emotion of winning at Bristol, the $100,000, what has the week been like for you?
Well, it's been almost like a typical work week in a way. Been getting cars ready to go racing next week, but you know, last night I got to celebrate with my brother and his wife and a couple hometown buddies at a local bar in town. So we definitely enjoyed it, but you know, us racers, we're always thinking about the next one, so got to start preparing.
Ryan, what did it mean to you hearing that celebration of your family? I mean, that had to just send cold chills up your back.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. You know, those two guys and my brothers, you know, we're all really close. So when they sent me that video, I was laughing pretty hard because there was so many different emotions going on in that video. It was pretty funny to watch.
Ryan, we had you on our Happy Hours radio show this week on Sirius XM, and you know, you said every time that you sit in that car, you feel like it's your last opportunity. But buddy, I can't tell you too many people that have just randomly got in cars and won races. The only guy that, you know, I think of is a guy like David Pearson, who back in the day who didn't run all the races, but he came in and won. How much pressure does that put on you, and what do you think that pressure does to a guy like Noah Gragson, who gets in that car and says, well, Ryan's won a couple races in this car. You know, there's a lot of pressure on me, and so how do you deal with all that pressure?
Well, to be honest with you, I was pretty happy that I left off on a pretty high note, but I don't know, man. I say this a lot when it comes to pressure and situations like that. I kind of thrive off it, and I enjoy it. So, especially being up here from the Northeast, I'll have to say racing modifieds and racing against guys like Ted Christopher and them, they prepared me for that moment. And you know, that's why when that last screen, you know, the last 10-lap restart came, I was ready for it. And I felt like my entire career of racing modifieds, whether it be at a local level or on the tour, it's been preparing me for this. So, you know, going back to that, I'm happy I won, and we'll see how the 18 ends up here today.
How do you manage your time away? Not going to compete in the Xfinity Series again until Daytona in July, right?
Yeah. It's I got a 2-month break, I guess, from the Xfinity Series, but I was just telling Kevin that I was working late today on the modified. I left there about an hour ago, and because I want to keep winning, man. That's what the sport's about. It's about winning races, And whether it's in an Xfinity car or a modified, winning's winning, and that's why we do this.
Hey, good luck on the modified circuit. Thanks for being with us tonight. Congratulations on all the success. It's a story we will continue to celebrate, okay?
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, and I enjoy watching the race, so have a good time, guys.
That was fun, visiting with Ryan Preece, who won last Saturday. Not only got the victory lane, was Dash for Cash eligible, and got the $100,000. This a Dash for Cash race, and updating our guys going for the big payout. Daniel Hamrick, 4 laps down, out of contention, unless we have a big problem at the front. Leading the way in 3rd overall, Elliott Sadler. Spencer Gallagher is 10th. Justin Allgaier has had some issues as well. He's back in 12th. 68 laps to go. It's all Joe Gibbs Racing at the front. Christopher Bell leading, Noah Gragson. And remember this, to win the Dash for Cash, you don't have to get the checkered flag. You just have to finish better than the other 3 guys. That means Sadler is in really good position. But you talk about hungry for money, Allgaier's getting after it here, fellas.
And Michael, you mentioned this earlier in the race. Those 7 guys are so good at adjusting on their car. About the time that you think they're out of the race, they show back up in the top 5.
Well, the first time he wrecked it, he said it hurt it. Maybe the second time it helped it, because it looks like he's got some great pace driving back inside the top 10 with that move around the outside of Ryan Reed.
And I really feel like his car isn't torn up as bad as he thinks it is. When you look at the fenders and these composite bodies really kind of take the brunt of the blow, I guess you could say, against that wall. But I don't think his car was torn up as bad as he thought it was.
Allgaier's worked his way back in the top 10 and now P2 in the chase for the $100,000. In position 2 overall on track, Noah Gragson, who's about a second behind his teammate Christopher Bell. Here's what they're saying, Team 18 audio.
I forgot to tell you earlier, when the caution comes out, if you flip the ignition off before you let out of the gas, it helps with the air pocket in a water system, and it'll cool better. But I forgot to tell you that earlier. So shut it off with the throttle on. Yep, like if you dump the gas and then reach up and hit it right after that.
That's pretty technical, Kevin.
I'm learning. I learned something tonight.
Good. I'm glad to hear you say that, because I did too.
But that's his crew chief, Eric Phillips. Eric has been atop the pit box now for 3 drivers who made their debut in this series. Kyle Busch, top 5. Christopher Bell, top 5. And Noah Gragson well on his way. It speaks volumes to how smart of a guy Eric Phillips is.
You know, that last time by, Adam, the 20 of Bell and the 18 of Gragson ran identical lap times. So Elliott Sadler's a couple of tenths off. I'm really getting interested, Kevin, as to how this is going to play out. If we stay green another 40, 50 laps, is that Bell car, have they adjusted it to the point where it's the class of the field, or will Sadler come looking?
Well, earlier it took about 30 laps for Elliott Sadler to really make up the ground. So I think we're creeping in on that number. And I think if Elliott is going to contend for the win, he's going to have to keep himself close enough. So he's a little over 2 seconds behind right now from the leaders, but that swing can go pretty quick once you start making up 2-3 tenths a lap.
And Justin Allgaier just picked another one off, Adam. He's got one of the fastest cars on the track.
Christopher Bell, the race leader. He's in lap traffic. Gragson is 2nd. Sadler 3rd. Tift and Reddick complete the top 5 with 61 laps remaining.
Welcome back to FS1's coverage of the ToyotaCare 250. You've got two young guys out front right now with Christopher Bell and Noah Gragson. How about the veteran in number 3, Elliott Sadler? Already won a stage here tonight with the help of his crew chief, Kevin Mendering, who's been his crew chief for the last 3 seasons. Mendering is a native of Grand Rapids, Michigan, a family man. Check out that beautiful family, his wife, Genevieve, and their 2 children. He likes to fish. He likes to watch Michigan football. How do you think about that, Larry McReynolds? And he's been to victory lane 3 times with Elliott Sadler, hoping to do it again tonight.
Well, and as you mentioned, this is their 3rd season together. And how about 2016, 2017? They finished 2nd in the points both of those years. And Kevin came from Hendrick Motorsports. In 2008, he was the assistant engineer on the 24 car with Jeff Gordon, and then spent 5 years as the lead engineer for the 88 car with Dale Earnhardt Jr. How about 72 races together for Elliott Sadler and Kevin Mendering, 60 top 10s, and only 3 DNFs. Adam, I would say that is a pretty solid drive and trust.
Add to that, Larry, 2 trips to the championship 4 and a regular season title 1 year ago. Mendering, Sadler have been a really good combination in the NASCAR Xfinity Series.
See the damage on the right front of the 5 car of Michael Annett? We had a very near miss on the back straightaway from Annett. He was racing along with Tony Marakovich, and look at this. Watch this job Marakovich does hanging onto that car. Great car control. And Adam, we watched him early in practice today have a lot of issues trying to get going. He's gotten up to speed nicely. He was running inside the top 20, and that is a heck of a save.
Mike, he didn't have a lot of issues. He was way off the pace, like 4 or 5 seconds off the pace, and he has been on the left side of our scoreboard all night, and that to me says a lot about this series and the opportunities that it gives guys like him to come over here and learn what they need to learn.
Well,
he's up to speed now.
And he tried to race at Bristol, and NASCAR said, we better push this off a week. You don't seem to have the speed you need. And here at Richmond, like you said, Kevin, it's just been impressive to watch him get up to speed and figure this out.
19-year-old out of Pennsylvania, open wheel background, made 4 ARCA starts. Kenny Schrader went to bat for him, said this kid's got some talent. Go ahead, put him in the Xfinity Series. As Michael said, tough debut weekend at Bristol, bounces back at Richmond, has found his way, and at one point was 16th in this race. Speaks volumes to the progress he has made in a short period of time. Bell working lap traffic, goes around the 0 there of Garrett Smithley. And his advantage now over 2nd place, Noah Gragson, a 2.5. Sadler is 3rd, Tift is 4th. And rounding out the top 5 now is Austin Syndrich. He's had quite the night in the 22, but looking for his top 5 finish here. Regan?
He's had a wonderful night, Adam, starting last in the field after that unapproved adjustment early on. Crew Chief Brian Wilson kind of predicted this earlier today. He said this is a long-run race car. It's the same setup that they raced to the win with Brad Keselowski last year. They anticipated when the sun went down, this car would continue to get quicker and quicker. He's a little tight in traffic, but the further forward he goes, the less traffic he has to deal with.
So Syndrich is 5th. 6th right now is Cole Custer, and let's not forget, they had a penalty when they came down the pit road at the end of stage 2.
Yeah, I just think we need to save a little bit, but go at the same time. I don't know what you're thinking. Yeah, I know. If this thing goes to the end, then everybody's going to start dropping off again like they did that last run. Tell me when you think we need to do different here.
That's just working with the spotter, understanding exactly what the pace is. It sounds like that Cole felt like he had a really good long-run car, and the crew was trying to figure out if he needed to back the pace up a little bit. But, Kevin, it's getting on down there now. If you're going to make a charge, you better have tires up under you and go right now. I don't think you can wait any longer.
Well, and the one thing I noticed earlier about Christopher Bell's car, the brakes weren't glowing, Mike. And, you know, you heard his crew chief talk in the last stage that his brakes were glowing, and then it wasn't long after that you saw him fading backwards. So I think that's a sign that they've got his car turning better, because a lot of times what happens here, when your car's not turning good enough, you have to stand on the brakes into the center of the corner and immediately transfer to the gas. Now he's able to hit the brakes, let off the brake, let the car roll to the center of the corner, and it's much easier on the brakes.
And this race does have a green flag feel, but everyone has a set of tires should the caution come out, and depending on if it does and when it does, there could be some big decisions for these crew chiefs. What do you have, Regan?
Well, Kevin's exactly right on Christopher Bell, Adam. He had his brake fans off the previous run. By the time they realized that the rotors were glowing, he had gained too much air pressure in the front tires. That made the race car get tight, so he got slower as that run went on. They couldn't recover from it. This run, the brake fans have been on. It's kept the rotors better and the front tires cooler.
Well, and the pace is there too, Regan. He continues to be the fastest car on the racetrack. He ran about a 1/10.5 quicker than second and third that time by, and this car is looking really strong.
Allgaier back in ninth. What do you see from them, Larry?
Well, I'm going to go back to what you said, Adam, that here we are with about 40 laps to go. We've run about 40 green flag laps since everyone last pitted. So to your point, everyone has a set of Goodyear tires laying in the pits, except, and Matt Yoakum can check on this, with the problems that Justin Allgaier had in that 7 car. And if you look there, he's made his way back to 9th position. They have used 3 sets of tires, so unless they have glued something back up, Jason Burdett, he's one of the crew chiefs, certainly absolutely hopes we do not have a caution and that this thing will go caution-free to the end.
And Allgaier has now fallen back to 10th, courtesy of Ryan Reed, who's having a good evening here at Richmond.
And that's good for that race team. We've seen struggles from Reed this season, so it's nice to see a nice, steady, strong run. When you run well on a short track like here at Richmond, it just helps you build confidence for all the other tracks. This is one of the toughest places to get a hold of. Reed's doing a nice job.
Well, and the other thing that these short tracks do is it allows most everybody in the field to come back to a place that they grew up racing on. So when you come here, a lot of times the younger guys, especially who have raced late model stock cars, they feel more comfortable here. So they're more confident coming here. And then if they can add that good run on top of that, it's like, all right, I know how to race on this type of racetrack. I know how to drive the car. I've done this, for several years in my late model stock car. And that, like you say, that confidence just continues to build. And then hopefully you can have that same type of run when you get to a bigger racetrack.
Something else that could help determine the outcome is lap traffic. Bell had a 1.5 second lead. It's down now to 0.7 of a second. Gregson is hanging in there. And here we see Ryan Truex on the move. This is for 7th, inside of the 9 of Tyler Reddick.
Nice move by Truex. He gets to the inside, be able to clear the 9 down here in 3 and 4 maybe.
9's not giving anything up. I can promise you that.
Zero chance.
He is not giving one thing up. And Truex, they might have made a little contact there. He got loose. Truex was about, what do you think, 6-8 inches from having him clear. 9 stayed in the gas and had to wait a lap.
There it is.
They got him.
Finishes the pass. What are you basing on he's not going to give up much, Kevin? Just what you've seen lately?
Well, that's just the type of racer
Look at this. He got by him. Bump, bump.
He's racing hard every lap, and I'm not by any means knocking Tyler at all, because I love the way that he races. It's extremely fun to watch. But you have to rein some of those things in order to take care of your car, in order to do those things. You need to keep that same aggression of every lap, because you do have to run every lap hard. It's not like, a lot of people used to say, well, you got to take care of your tires. They're telling them to take care of their tires, but it's really hard to do. And a lot of times you try to take care of your tires and your car still falls off because it just needs to be set up different or have something different in the whole setup of what you're doing.
Let's take a minute here and celebrate what Truex is doing. 7th, top 15 every race this year. They've been unbelievable. 3rd year in existence for that team over at Colleague Racing. We said Ryan Reed's in the top 10. That's good for him. Jeremy Clements is 11th right now. Another great story when you look at our top 15. And there is the race for the lead. Bell and Gregson. It is still tight. Less than a half a second now. Larry, what do you have for us?
Well, I want to go back to Justin Allgaier in the 7 car. And Matt Yoakum definitely checked into it. And I think because we only had run 2 laps after he pitted for 4 tires, that NASCAR did give that team another set of tires. So they do, like everyone else, they have a set of stickers laying in the pits.
But Adam, I want to talk about this lead, and you nailed it. Lap traffic has taken all of the advantage Christopher Bell had built up over a second and a half away, and it just appears to me, Kevin, what are you seeing? It looks like Bell's maybe slipping up off the corner, and maybe Gregson's got some better forward bite right now.
Yeah, I see Gregson right on that yellow line all the way around the corner. And I see the 20 car of Christopher Bell. It looks like he's having a little bit more trouble getting through traffic than Gregson was, because it looks like his car is starting to get tight again.
And look at that. You could see that left front tire was off the racetrack down low, and he's on a mission right now. That car, I think, is handling better, maybe a little bit better long run speed. And what you talked about earlier, you saw it there. He was able to turn in the corner a little bit sooner than our leader, Bell. Maybe he can take advantage of that.
I'd like to see a confidence meter on Noah Gragson from 8 o'clock this morning when first practice started to right now. It has just got to be a steady climb. You're up front in practice. You qualify good. You finish in these stages. You compete with guys on older tires. And now with 29 laps to go, you can see your teammate in front of you for the race lead.
Well, I think a lot of that goes right back to Eric Phillips and his crew chief, and we talked about this before the race. The crew chief plays a huge role in getting these young guys up to speed and letting them know what they need in their car and helping them with the notebook. And that notebook plays a huge role in what you do here at Richmond. So they've done a great job in getting him up to speed, and he's also done a great job of listening.
How's Bell feeling at this stage, Regan?
Well, Michael and Kevin just hit on it. He adjusted his line just a few seconds ago based on information the spotter gave him for what was happening behind him.
Hey, Regan.
He shouted up his entry to 1 here a little bit, making up a little ground entry to center. About a foot lower exit. That's where he's beating us off of 4. Foot lower, longer line wrap.
Hey, Regan, are you texting these guys? Because every time they give analysis, we pitch it to you, and you say exactly what they're saying, and then they celebrate up here. The egos are getting large in the booth.
We are celebrating up here. We're giving some good information to the folks at home that are watching this race.
I'm just up here with a couple of geniuses. You know that?
You know what I love about what the spotter just said? What we talked about. Gragson turning into the corner a little bit sooner. And that's stuff that Bell can't see in his mirror. He needs to understand exactly what's going on. It reminds me a lot of the battle that you and Kyle Busch had over at Texas when he started moving his line around to block you.
We've heard from the 20. Let's hear from the 18.
How about momentum? You'll just inch up on him here. Don't push it. Keep driving straight up that hill so you don't slide the tires. You'll get a little at a time. Keep it rolling.
I like what he's doing now. Look at Gragson. He's moved up the track. Kevin, you talked about that groove there where the seam is, maybe trying to take advantage of that, but he's got to look around. It looked like maybe the move that he made and the momentum he was gaining, Bell was able to adjust for that. He had to change his game plan.
Well, and when they told Bell to change his line, it took his line away. And no matter how big the racetrack is, there's going to be some effect from an aero standpoint when you get close enough to that car. So it's going to be interesting to see if the difference in line, you saw him move back down right there like he didn't like it. So we'll see if he stays back up on that first seam, or if he goes right back to the bottom down here as well.
Now, to me as a racer, I love being Noah Gragson right now, being the stalker. He's trying to run down the 20 of Christopher Bell. He's using all the options. He's moving around on the track. That's just fun as a race car driver to be able to try to figure that out.
For Bell, how do you manage your focus? You're in the lead. You got to find the lap cars. Where do you need to go to dodge them? And then also you want to understand where Gragson is behind you.
Well, this is where Bell lost his whole gap, is when he got to a gaggle of cars like this, and now he's in another gaggle of cars. And it looks to me like Christopher Bell needs that wide entry to get his car to turn through the center of the corner. But that's exactly what he needs to be doing right there. He knows that Noah Gragson needs to be locked on that yellow line, and he needs to be locked right on that yellow line so that he can't get there. But it looks to me like in traffic he has the most trouble on entry when he can't get that wide entry.
Just put Ross Chastain a lap down, working on Alex Labbe, the rookie out of Canada. He is now 1 lap in arrear. 16 drivers on the lead lap. The last of those, 23 of Spencer Gallagher, and the gap from first to second, 0.4 of a second.
Just a classic NASCAR battle here. The young Gragson trying to chase down the guy that's probably one of the favorites to win the championship in the Xfinity Series this year. He's just going to be that good every week. We've seen so much speed out of Christopher Bell. Gregson's trying to tackle that task.
I tell you, the biggest problem that I see with the Joe Gibbs cars, they have too many drivers. They have too many good drivers. You've got Ryan Preece, who just won last week. You got Christopher Bell out front leading the race. You've got Noah Gragson back here with a chance to win the race in his very first start. So they've got a great crop of drivers that they've brought up, and now they're all almost in the same spot, and not enough cars to let them all drive.
Well, I don't know what's more surprising, the fact that it took him 7 races to win in 2018, or the fact that Bell has not been to victory lane yet, but in position to get it done here tonight. And when you talk about unsung heroes, the 51 of Jeremy Clements, he's working Tyler Reddick for 9th. That's outstanding.
That's beautiful stuff. And we talked to Clements after qualifying, and he said, we've got a better car than we qualified. 26th in that session. He said, we will move forward, but man, this is impressive.
Yeah, and you heard him talk about tearing his better car up that he had at Bristol that he thought would be better here. Well, this one doesn't look too bad, and I'll be honest, I thought he was kind of blowing smoke there.
I did too.
After qualifying, I'm like, well, he's just, talking it up for his sponsors. And he's not talking it up. He's showing that the car is legit and good, driving up into the top 10, running 9th.
Yeah, and closing on Ryan Reed. And here's first and second again, Bell and Gregson. Let's check in one more time with Team 18.
All right, time to go. Just don't rush it.
Said time to go, and I would guess that is the case. 15 remaining at a short track.
Kevin, when you try to push the trigger, or when you try to get up a little bit more aggressive, what's the first thing to go away? The front tires or the rear tires? And how will that mess up his rhythm if he tries to push it here?
Well, if you overdrive the corners here, a lot of times where he is driving, you'll miss the yellow line. So you'll mess up the entry to the center of the corner because you'll overdrive it. And if you have to overdrive it too long, what happens is you'll start hitting the brakes harder to keep the car locked on the yellow line. So you can't do that very long and keep the car turning. But usually, when you start to drive it harder here, a lot of times it goes slower.
Yeah, and I think we've witnessed that with the 18. A couple of laps there, he was a good 10th slower, but every time they catch traffic, it looks like Gregson's able to maneuver better in traffic.
Yeah, I feel like Gregson's entry is a benefit to him when they catch traffic, but
down to a quarter of a second, he's at his bumper now for the lead.
Well, if that's what happens when they tell him to push it, I like what I'm seeing.
Going to be 12 to go when we come back to the line. He had fallen back to a half a second deficit, but Noah Gragson is there. First start, could he win out of the gates in the 18?
He'll start driving with the mirror.
How tough is this for Gragson to be patient, not slip up into the 20 car? You can see he dives hard in the corner. Patience is out the window, huh?
Nice and smooth. Don't let him pinch it. Don't let him control your entry.
He's just so much better with that low entry. He's able to charge the corner harder, and Bell has to, he has to let off a little bit sooner, and that's going to be the strength of the 18.
A little bit of a bump there.
You got him.
Wow.
Set it up on him. You got 2 lappers up in front of you. Be sure to go when you get to the stripe.
I remember 2 years ago in the Cup race here, Joe Gibbs Racing drivers running 1-2, Kyle Busch leading, Carl Edwards second. We saw a last lap bump and run. It's not unprecedented here when it comes to those guys going after it for the coach.
I know you will. It's all good, bud. Nice and smooth. You got him.
That's all Gragson had to say. I'm beating him.
Last driver to win in their debut, Kurt Busch, 2006. That would be good company to join, huh?
Well,
9 laps left.
We saw Eric Jones and Christopher Bell at, I believe it was Kansas, right? And they had some pretty big contact there. So this will be interesting to see how these last 9 laps go.
Yeah, this is short track racing. I'm just, my palms are sweating. I'm so into this battle. It's just so classic short track NASCAR, and watching Gragson with the limited experience come up and try to take it away from Christopher Bell.
Hey, remember the pass that Bell made on Eric Jones to get his first career victory at Kansas, slid up in front of him. That was a great move among teammates.
I like what I'm seeing here. I want to look around, maybe try that high line, go back up to that seam that you talked about, Kevin. Wasn't able to get it done on the bottom side. Can he move up and do it?
And the biggest key right here is you don't want to make the big mistake. You can afford to look around and lose a half a tenth here and there, but you don't want to get yourself so far behind that in the last 2 laps you don't at least have a chance to get to his bumper again.
J.J. Yaley in the 38. He's the 15th place running car. Adam, he just swung up out of the way. You like to see that. let these leaders battle for it.
And the other thing,
you got something to do. 5 to go when you get back.
The other thing we're learning right now is how Christopher Bell is going to do under pressure. And obviously right now he's doing a very good job because he's kept his car on the bottom. He hasn't made that big mistake to just let him drive by, and he's hitting his mark. So, you know, I know Noah is up the racetrack and trying something different, but I believe he's going to have to stick with what he feels is the best over these last 5 laps if he's going to have a shot at getting back to his bumper.
5 laps to go. Updating the dash for cash. It looks like the 100 grand will go to Elliott Sadler. He is 3rd. Next in line, Justin Allgaier 13th, 20 seconds back.
Another strong run into the corner for Gregson there, but he's going to lose it in the middle. Just couldn't hold the front end down. Bell drives away.
Won the Camping World Truck Series championship in his 2nd season last year. Bell coming up through the ranks like so many other successful drivers in the trucks for Kyle Busch, and trying to get his 2nd career win in the Xfinity Series here tonight. 3 laps to go for the Norman, Oklahoma native here at Richmond.
And there's several cars out there in front of him in traffic. You know, I know we've only got 3 laps to go, but if he catches those guys in front of him, it could be, especially since they're side by side.
One of those cars is Justin Allgaier. We know he's got good speed.
And John Hunter Nemechek.
He is painfully close.
2 by 3.
Hanging right around a half a second back is Noah Gragson. Went a little higher that time. Coming off of turn 4, they'll see the white flag. 1 lap to go. It's sponsored.
Good momentum off 4, Adam.
One last opportunity for Noah Gragson. Can he get there? Lap traffic ahead. Bell has managed it perfectly. Through 3 and 4. He's going to see the checkered flag. 2nd career victory. Christopher Bell hangs on in Richmond.
Good job, guys.
I could have watched that all night, Adam.
Out of the way, man. That's what I'm talking about. You got your new favorite racetrack. Awesome job, Hirschman. Great job on pit road, gentlemen.
3rd place, Elliott Sadler. He wins the dash for cash. He's got $100,000
In my home track, I appreciate
tonight.
it, guys. Awesome job. Great pit stops, man. Thank y'all.
$120 laps out front for Christopher Bell. Had a hard time shaking his teammate. Quite a debut for 19-year-old Noah Gragson, who's a runner-up this evening.
Smoke him if you got him.
The win locks him into the playoffs, and it could be the first of many. And this win also means he'll be dash for cash eligible when we go to Talladega Superspeedway next Saturday afternoon. So will Elliott Sadler, Matt Tifft, and Austin Syndrich. They all finished in the top 5 here tonight, but the checkers go to Christopher Bell. ToyotaCare 250 all over for the NASCAR Xfinity Series here at Richmond Raceway. And fitting, it's a Toyota that will drive to victory lane. Christopher Bell getting it done for Joe Gibbs here tonight. 8th time the coach has seen one of his drivers head over to victory lane. The other two to help him get there, Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin. We look at our Dash for Cash results tonight, and it was a struggle for 3 of these guys. Gallagher, Hamrick, Allgaier, they all had problems. Sadler led laps, finishes 3rd, and for the 4th time in his career, he takes home the $100,000, Matt.
And Elliott Sadler down here on pit road, when you look at that final run to the finish, what was different with your car than the first 2 stages?
Yeah, it just, man, it got a little tight. I felt like I need to be a little bit better on forward drive there at the end of the run for an 80-lap run compared to a 75-lap run. And we tightened it up a little bit and probably tightened it up too much for the middle of the corner. But man, I really want to win at this track. And, you know, Matt, you and I have talked about this a few times. And to try to come here in Richmond and win at this track, God, would mean a lot to me. But we did win the Dash for Cash. $100,000 is great. I hadn't won one of those in a couple years, and thanks to Xfinity and Peter and all his guys for putting that on for our series. And this team, Chevrolet Camaro, was fast all night. It was so much fun leading and running up front here at my home track. Just came up a little short tonight.
We got the big check for you. It's coming in here. Now, I've got to ask you, you had the line of the night when your team told you won the Dash for Cash, the $100,000. What'd you tell them?
My wife's already spent it. But we appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Elliott, we feel your pain. Hey, he's got a winless streak going. He's ended 2 long ones in his career at Talladega. That's where we go next Saturday. I'm just saying.
Welcome back to Richmond Raceway. Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Superior performing tires to face challenging conditions on the road and on the track. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. Hey, check this out. Victory Lane just getting busy right now. As you see, Christopher Bell has pulled his car in. We're going to go down to Regan Smith.
Christopher Bell climbs from his car, victorious for the 2nd time in his Xfinity Series career. Huge smiles, all these guys, Gatorade, water, everything flying everywhere. Christopher, you have been so close this year. We've watched it numerous times. You finally get your first win this season.
That was pretty special there, buddy. Had to work for it. My teammate was
really good, and I knew throughout both practices that both of our cars were going to be really strong. Joe Gibbs Racing has been producing really, really fast Camrys for the last couple of weeks, and it's really shown. But, man, I'm just really thankful for all of our partners at Rheem, Rude, GameStop, Toyota, Tierney, everyone that was watching on the Xfinity X1 app, Xfinity for supporting the series, and thank you to all the fans that came out.
We got to hear an awesome exchange with you, your spotter, as well as your teammate behind you, Noah Gregson, and his spotter. A great game of cat and mouse. How aware were you of where he was at all times at the end of the race there?
I don't know. I was disappointed because my crew chief kept telling me lap times, but every time he'd tell me lap times, I was better than him. And then next thing you know, Tony would key up and say 3 back. And I'm like, well, how's he making up if I'm going faster than him? So there's a little bit of miscommunication there, but all in all, it was enough to stay in front of him at the end.
Absolutely awesome battle between these guys. He's qualified for the Dash for Cash next week, and he gets his second win of the year. Matt?
Christopher Bell may have won the race, but to me the most impressive run of the night went to Noah Gregson. So much pressure coming into this mount because it went to victory lane the week before, and you still compartmentalized all that. When you're looking through the final laps going into your run at it, could you have done anything different?
It's tough. It's definitely a team effort, and not racing at this track before in the Xfinity Series, making my first start here. I didn't know what really to expect, so I found a little something in the track, a little speed there at the end of the second stage on old tires, and I kept it in my memory bank till the end, and I told my team, I said, I got something when it's time to go, just tell me when. And about 18 to go, I told him, I can't wait any longer, I don't have any more patience, I'm going to go, and I ran Christopher down about 2-3 car lengths there, and I used it, and then my spotter, Rick Corelli, said, not too quick, he might catch on and you might not be able to pass him, but just so thankful for the opportunity. Man, I probably should have gone there with 18 to go, but Rob Roy, the Switch team, they took a chance on me to live out my dream out here in the Xfinity Series, making my first career start. So still thankful for fast Toyota Camrys at Joe Gibbs Racing. We have a great team, Eric Phillips and the rest of the guys. Couldn't have done it without them.
What a debut. Noah Gregson finishes second.
And, Matt, it's the 12th time in series history that a driver has finished top 2 in their series debut. Fun night here at Richmond. What are your final thoughts, Kevin?
Well, the things that impressed me the most were Noah Gregson in his debut and the pressure that Christopher Bell was able to race under tonight and win the race. And to me, that shows a lot about who he is going to be as a racer.
What I saw tonight makes me look so much forward to tomorrow night when these Cup stars get out there in the Monster Energy cars and start mixing it up. 2 and 3 lanes wide in the turns, a lot of different grooves, a lot of momentum off the corners. It's going to be fun.
You go 10th tomorrow night when the green flag goes in the air. What's a preview?
Well, I feel like our car is really good. I think you're going to see a lot of things that you saw tonight with the groove moving up and guys going forward at the beginning of the run and going backwards at the end of the run, and I think you'll see a lot of green flag racing.
If I had a baton, I would pass it to you right now because you'll do play-by-play at Talladega. We'll see you there. Good luck on track tomorrow night. Shannon?
Thanks, guys, so much. Okay, let's take a look at the Dash for Cash drivers eligible for next week's $100,000. What do you think about this group, Larry?
Well, it's not what I think about this group necessarily. It's where we are actually headed now. We put the short track helmets away, 2 great short track races, but we are headed to the biggest and the baddest and the boldest, Talladega Super Speedway.
Yeah, and we get to take a weekend off, right? Kind of, because we have drivers only next week.
And that's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to working with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Him and I will be crunching strategy all race long.
Yeah, so we had 2 young drivers, the 20 and the 18, Christopher Bell, Noah Gregson. What a race it was for those last 15 laps going back and forth. Certainly the future is bright.
Yes, it is. And again, an Xfinity Series race without Cup drivers, always a great race.
Coming up next, NHRA Houston qualifying tomorrow. Make sure you join us 3 p.m. race day on FS1, 6 p.m. the big race on Fox. Good night, everyone.